What's up, YouTube? It's your girl, Crystal, and I am back with another review. So sorry I've been gone. I hope you missed me. I missed you all, but partially I've been gone for a hiatus because of the writers and SAG strike, as well as I've just been super busy and haven't had time. But as of today, which is October 9th, I believe the SAG and the agencies and everybody are supposed to meet again for negotiations. And then the writers have reached a tentative deal. So we send love to all of them so they can all get back to work and we can all get back to our great content because I miss Abbott Elementary. Hey, Quinta. So today I'm going to be reviewing my favorite actress's new memoir, Thicker Than Water by Kerry Washington. And baby, when I tell you, she got into some things, she got into some things. Now, we all know Kerry Washington is super private. She's been private basically since she came out. I've never known more than she was married with children, and that's it. We still haven't seen a picture of her children. We see her husband, Namdi, of course, but I've never seen her children. We see her dad on her Instagram and her mom as well. But other than that, we don't know. I didn't know much about her. So I was so excited when she said she was going to release this memoir. And I just wondered how deep would she go because she's just private. But she went into some things, and a lot of them I think are brave stories that she told. A lot of things I feel like um, we take to our grave and things like that. But as she says, we are sick as our secrets. And that's something that people often say, but she really means it. So I felt like this was maybe therapeutic for her. And she just got out everything that she wanted to get out. But please believe we still don't see any pictures of her beautiful kids in the book. She still doesn't share. It's only one picture on the back of the book, and that's her with her parents at a pool, hence Thicker Than Water. So I'm going to just give you, I'm not going to talk about the things that she's talked about in the press because you can see many interviews. I want to talk about some things that just stuck out to me personally as an artist. And it's just like funny stories I think that are great that she told. So overall, the book is called Thicker Than Water, and the book addresses how water has always been in her life from when she was a little girl in the Bronx swimming with her parents and things like that. She always feels safest in the water. And that's interesting because I'm totally the opposite. I don't trust water. I don't swim. Yeah, I don't even like boats. So I think it's cool that she revealed that about herself. Like she feels so at home and things like that at the water. And when she goes under the water, it's so quiet, you can barely hear things like that. It's really cool. But like most Black people, we like, my hair don't get wet. Me and water, we don't really get along. So the book is 14 chapters, and then she has an epilogue that explains like her not new name, but the meaning of her full name, which I think is really dope. And I don't want to spoil that. But so it's 14 chapters. If you listen to our Audible, you got about, I believe, 8 hours and 35 minutes to listen to. So I did both. I read and I listened to it on Audible. I really love when artists, especially actors, narrate their own story because I like hearing the stories in their own voice. The first time I heard someone in their own voice was Jennifer Lewis when she did The Black Mother of Hollywood. It's a different cadence, it's a different inflect that you use because it's your story, so you're gonna spruce it up, and it just sounds better coming from you than like if you just hire a voice actor or something like that. So I love that she narrated this in her own words. So 14 chapters. My favorite chapter is it's actually a tie, to be honest. Um, Chapter 9 and 10 might be my favorites. Chapter 9 is called Miracles, and chapter 10 is Black Famous. Um, so I'll tell you why. Miracles, she goes into talking about her first film, which was Our Song, and I believe it's on Netflix. So if you've never seen it, you should see it. Carrie plays a 15-year-old. She's 22 in real like life, but she plays 15. She's got that whole Benjamin Button thing. Like she can age. She looked like such a little girl. And I'm like, man, you was 22. That's so dope. But the young woman they dealt with, she spoke Spanish in there. I believe she was half Cuban and half Black in there. But she spoke Spanish. They dealt with sexual nature of like teen girls having sex. She was also in a band, so she was an artist of sorts. And I remember seeing this movie like years ago, but I'd never tied her to it until after. I'm like, wait, is that Kerry Washington? Like from Save the Last Dance? That's from Ray? That's from, yeah, you have to do all these connecting dots, but that's her. And that's her very first movie, which was an indie film. She said, I believe they had a budget of 100,000 and they shot it kind of guerrilla style. They stole a lot of shots around certain areas and things. I think that's cool. But one thing that stuck out to me in this chapter is a line she says, page 164, actually. She says, I'll never be as good again, never ever, as I was in that movie. And I'm like, word? Like you're Kerry Washington, two-time Emmy nominee. Like you're about to probably get a Grammy for narrating your memoir. Like you don't think Kerry of today is as good as 22-year-old Kerry? Like that's crazy. That's some introspective stuff. I disagree because I saw all seasons of Scandal. Like she's the reason why I'm an actor, period. But in her own brain, she says she will never ever be as good. And I wanted her to expound on that a little bit, I will say, because she talks about the training that she did at the STAR program in the Bronx. And this program that just taught her all the tools of theater and then going to college and learning there as well. But it really just caught me off guard by her saying she still doesn't think, after all the good work, Little Fires Everywhere, Scandal, that she will never ever be as good as she was in Our Song. Um, and she never says why. She just says she never will. And then she moves on to the next topic. So I wonder if, because I know she's on a book tour, I wonder if anyone has asked her that question. Because if I was interviewing you, Kerry, that'd be the first question. I'd be like, so why you think he wasn't as good as you were in Our Song? Because we disagree, right? Like, and I'd make the audience cheer. But that's her, of course, she understands more than us looking as fans, but that's just interesting that she believes that way. I know personally, I think all actors have that role. Not that we're trying to chase, but it's like, I think Viola Davis called like Woman King was her magnum opus. So it's this thing of like, I got here, I'll never be as great, or I got here, but now maybe I'm trying to chase everything to get back to that point. And I wonder if that's what Kerry is thinking. Maybe because she was so green and new and she was so pure, the art was so pure in her, she didn't have to worry about the business. It was indie. It was the little movie that could type of thing. It went on to Sundance and do all these great things, but it's like, well, it's just indie style, so let's just full out go for it. Maybe that's why. I'm just trying to understand, but I think that was such an interesting quote. And she means it. And I think she said it in a Breakfast Club interview as well. Like she says, I'll never be as good then. And I'm like, can you stop saying that? But she says it. I just want to know why. I personally just want to know why. Um, Moving on, so that's in chapter 9. Chapter 10, Black Famous, is another favorite chapter of mine. That is where Ray comes into play. Just her star really starts to rise. I believe she was in She Hate Me first, then Ray, and just all these things that was coming to pass. And she talks about something very personal, and you guys, I don't want to spoil it. I'm sure you've seen the promo or, some of her interviews and things like that. But Black Famous, I think, equates to that situation she had to endure, and someone recognized her, and it's like, oh, I'm not little Kerry from the Bronx, and like now people are starting to notice me. So she started moving different after that, and rightfully so, for sure. Once fame is interesting. A lot of people say it's the the biggest drug of them all. It's not cocaine, it's not heroin, it's not weed, it's not drinks, it's fame. And some people go towards it and a lot of people don't want it. So they do the opposite. Like, or if I signed up to be this famous, my family and my kids didn't though. So she does everything to kind of protect them because of that situation that she had to go through. Um, Also in Black Famous, she talks about um, the recognition that she received in Ray of being B and how Jamie kind of taught her to kind of let go of perfectionism because they were doing a scene. It was the scene where she finds Ray's paraphernalia, his drug paraphernalia, and she just kept repeating the scene, trying to like she was just doing it repetitive, but not finding a new in the scene. She was just trying to perfect it. And Jamie was like, you got to let it go. You got to like play. Let's play in this moment. Let's discover anew. And I love that story about how a scene partner like Jamie Foxx was willing to just open himself up, give feedback, and then they both just played. And then you get what we got on that beautiful screen, of course. And Ray is definitely top. It's Ray and Malcolm X is like 1A and 1B of biopics. So period. Um, but then she also talks about when they wrapped Ray and then it finally came out and she was on covers and things like that, she felt a little bit of guilt because she thought like her and Regina King had been propelled forward because, you know, they were the two most like B and Regina King's character, you know, they definitely were the opposites, but they were the most prevalent in the movie. Like they changed him for good or worse. I don't know. Um, but she was saying how Ingenue and Sharon weren't invited to do covers and things like that. So she kind of felt a little bit of guilt. And I was like, oh, Carrie's such a sweetheart. Um, but I agree, the women in Ray's life in that movie were so, even though Ingenue was only in there for like maybe a total of like 8, 9 minutes because she did a couple scenes, but they were very short. She did that thing, honey. Like she had such a, I don't want to say a small role because there are no small roles, only, you know, whatever, small actors or something like that. But with what she was given, she did so much. She was so layered in the first time they met, and then her joining the band, and then him giving her a lead song, and then her finding out about Regina King's character, and then her throwing the brick through the car window. I should know. But it was so palpable, and we never saw her after. So I do agree with Carrie, like, dang, you know, I want us to all go. But knowing Carrie is like, we all are winning, period. You know, we may be on covers or we may be in the for-year considerations, but we're all winning. And Ray was definitely that biopic that went on to be iconic. As I said before, it's top two, and I don't even think it's 1A and 1B. Between that and Malcolm X, I can't choose because he what the casting of Ray, when you look back, you're like, Lorenz Tate was in, everybody was in that movie and everyone did so well. Um, but I love that chapter because she was talking about a lot of the business, the roles, and the people that she kind of met along the way. And I never really heard her talk like that about her business. She just kinds of, yeah, I just enjoyed her going back into time and talking about Ray and things like that. Because that is where, to me, her star rose with Save the Last Dance. But I get Ray put her in different rooms because now it was Oscar nominated, Golden Globes, and things like that. So that makes sense. But you know, we all know Chanel, you know, our homegirl with the turtleneck. That's my brother. Oh, Chanel reigns forever and ever. Um, so what stuck out? I would say um definitely the Our Song story, which is in the Miracles chapter, Black famous, and that whole story of being Black famous, and that she's not anymore. I wonder if she could. if she could go back, um, would she change anything about the trajectory that she took with with her career? Um, are there any roles that she regret? Like those are the things I wanna know personally. Like, are there any roles she regrets? Is there roles that she lost to someone else that turned out to be great or not at all? I understand why she wouldn't put that in there because it was mostly about her and her family, of course, life. But those are the things I did want just a little bit more, maybe additional chapter of like reflection of my time in Hollywood and where does that bring the Carrie that we know now? She is now a producer with Simpson Street Productions. She is in charge of, putting content out now and saying yes or no to certain things. Um, there's something else I wanted her to talk about. I think about how she takes care of herself, like, because she talks about this, I think it's in the superheroes chapter, where she talks about Scandal and how she got Scandal and how they became a family. They used to do watch parties and how before then she did not watch herself. Um, but Scandal forced her to watch herself, how they invented live tweeting, which they did, because that's how I found out. My coworker, friend and coworker had told me about it because of Twitter. And then getting to live tweet with the cast with the hashtag scandal. You would hope somebody retweeted you or something. Yeah, Carrie never retweeted me, y'all. It's cool though. But yeah, every Thursday night, it was like an event. TGIT was a full out thing between her and then How to Get Away with Murder. I didn't really watch Grey's Anatomy, but definitely Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. Always, always on Twitter on Thursday nights. So I love that idea of someone bringing it to her. I think she said a childhood friend, and then she went to Shonda, and Shonda asked the cast to live tweet because that's what got them, I believe, a second season, and then went on to be this iconic show that is still referenced today. Um, so I love that, those stories. But I also wanted her to talk about maybe, because she was talking about how there were 16-hour days, 5 days a week for 7 years. I wanted her to talk about that demand a little bit on the body, on the mind, and then she had two children during that time. So I wanted her to go into little depths about what did she do to take care of herself and any advice to offer people that are number ones on the call sheet. Um, yeah, that's really hard. When she was just talking about it, I got tired. But it was necessary, and the show went on to be iconic. Um, Now, my favorite story from this book comes in, I believe it's in Miracles. Is it in Miracles? Or is it in Black Famous? It might be in Black Famous. But anyway, the first time Carrie was a number one on her call sheet was a movie called Lift. Y'all might remember it, you might not, but she played Niecy. And Niecy was a shoplifter. She was stealing. And Carrie tells the story of like, she got the role and her directors or producers or something had asked her, like, have you ever stolen anything? And she's like, no, I've been a good kid, whatever. And so they were like, oh, okay. So she goes out to a Manhattan deli or something and steals an because she wanted to know the rush of stealing. And it's so innocent, but it's like, Carrie, you didn't need to do. And she's like, I wanted to go back later, but the deli closed and pay for and tell them, but they had closed or whatever. But I think she said later on she was just like overpaying so she could get that guilt up off of her. But it's like, you didn't need to do that. But I thought that story was so light and funny that, you know what? Because I want to know what a rush it is to steal, um, so I could play this woman as honestly as possible. I'm going to go steal an apple from a deli. That's so sweet of you, because Most of us would have stolen something of value, but that was so cute and funny. I hollered when I was listening to that on Audible. I was like, "Oh, Carrie, you're such a sweetheart." But that was funny. So yeah, those are my just initial thoughts, and then of course the big reveal that we all know that um, she was going to go on the Roots show, Finding Your Roots, I believe, yes, on PBS, and they were going to do a DNA test, which prompted her mom to have a chat with her 5 years ago. And that chat revealed that her dad, that she has known all of her life, was not her biological dad, and that she was conceived through a sperm donor due to, just complications of infertility and things like that. I was always, I know in interviews she was talking about like, she was taken aback, of course, but she had so much grace for her parents, and that's how desperately they wanted a child, and she was grateful that they, all of those things, and it kind of forced her to release all these other secrets and things and do this memoir. But I'm just like, wow, God bless you, Carrie, because that had to be very hard to hear that at I believe at the time she was 43 or something like that. It was like right after Scandal, I think a little bit. So right after there, you think you're going to find out something else in your family, and then boom, your identity is questioned. Everything, your whole life is questioned because of this, Um, and she was saying how her mother never planned to tell her. She said that she was going to write her a letter and put it in a safe deposit box, and she would find it after she's gone on. But Carrie's like, you're in your 80s, lady. I don't think you were going to do that. Carrie, your mother wasn't going to do that. Just saying. She wasn't. She was going to keep that forever. Um, but yeah, I think it's really cool that she had a lot of grace um, toward her mother and father, because it doesn't change. Like, this man raised you, you love him, all of that. But it did explain, like she said, growing up, she always felt a distance with her parents. Um, and she could never put her finger on it. It was just something there. And now she has closure to like, that's what it was. Y'all was hiding this secret from me. Um, yeah. So bravo for just sharing all of that, because she could have definitely just kept that to herself as well. We never would have known. We see her and her dad do dad jokes all the time on Instagram, and they're so cute and charming. But she wanted to tell the world, and I thought that was very brave and cool. And it gives probably other people um, more courage to share their truths as well. Um, but bravo to her, because I don't know if I could have that same grace. I might have to put my mommy in Shady Pines. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm not there yet. God's still working on me. But mommy, you would have been in Shady Pines. Love you. Uh, but I love the book thoroughly. I'll probably reread it because I'm sure I missed some stuff just listening and reading at the same time. But thank you for sharing your vulnerability. I'm still a little mad that you canceled your book tour for Detroit. Yep, we got beef because I had my ticket and then got an email saying it's been canceled. Got the cash back, but we still got beef because I'm like, why Detroit can't get a book tour? Like, we was watching Scandal. That's how. But it's all good. Thank you so much, Kerry Washington, for sharing your truth, for sharing your life through this book. For anybody out there that's thinking about buying the book, please, you should. It's a very good read. And also on Audible, I think you get a free credit if you haven't been on in a while, so you can listen to her actually tell the stories and her cadence and her voice. It's really cool. It's so many stories in there that are not just about the parental, the DNA issue, or her other um, like the big issues that she's talked about in interviews. There's a lot of gems in here about just how you lead your life, and how to be gracious, and how she found yoga to be a saving grace, a trip to India that kind of taught her, what that's where she really learned yoga and things like that. But it's just a lot of stories in there about how she came to be such this gracious woman that we love and adore. So it was my pleasure to read it, my pleasure to come back to YouTube to review Thicker Than Water. If you haven't read it, go out and read it. It's something for everybody, whether you're an artist or not. You will learn something. And as Carrie says, we are sick as our secrets. So hopefully, this will give people the courage to free themselves of whatever's going on. All right. My name is Crystal. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.